Welcome, everybody, to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gulner. I'm a podcast assistant engineer here, and um, we're excited to bring you a all new show with a gentleman named Todd Lingel, who we met recently, who's out of Arizona, who has the CARES Foundation. Um, we are here we'll be here on Wednesday mornings, but the CARES Foundation is a 501c nonprofit that Todd started, um, and it is all about prevention, education. It was um, started due to honoring his mother and sister who were killed in a car accident with a drunk driver, uh, and he was very young. And so the CARES Foundation, it has a different spelling. It's KARES instead of with a C, and that is to his mom. So the KARE is for his mother Karen, and the S is for his sister Shelley. And so um, the CARES Foundation is it runs camps and so on, and um, so carefree. I'll bring up uh, the website here. Um, and so yeah, it's different things here. So yeah, it's youth-centered awareness for education, prevention, and support. Um, and there are going to be different resources, um, and we're about saving lives one community at a time, and about distracted driving. So we're looking to have a camp in all 50 states and having scholarships at the college level as well. Um, and um, and so yeah, if you're seeing here that you were able to donate as well, and they have camps for youth, the teenagers 12 to 16, and the typical stuff. Um, and so yeah, this is the website. Things, and different things going on here. Alcohol, any education about alcohol and substance abuse, as well as other things like trafficking and so on. Um, and so I encourage everybody to uh, uh, either donate, that's what you can do, that's volunteering, or here's some other resources they have here to help with uh, help on that kind of thing. Um, and so I encourage everybody to reach out, uh, to donate, volunteer, and so on. And we are here because we care about this um, topic and this organization. Um, it's a very important one. And um, um, and so, Carrot, would you like to come in here and say anything about this great organization?
Absolutely. Emily, Todd, everybody out there watching and listening. I can say that, with this show, Emily and I do many shows, and this one just really, in kind of a way for me, hits me in what I might call self examination when I look at my life. I'm 53 years old, folks. I'm out here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And, you know, when I just look at, Todd's story and the story of, the legacy of Todd's, mother and sister, I've been in other conversations with other situations where people have made comments to me by the nature of the work that Emily and I do that, it really is something when the tragedy of someone, and in this case of a couple people, mom and sister, can at least turn around to be a benefit and, serve good. And, to me, this is as big of an opportunity as we can get. When you talk about that, we have the opportunity to take what Emily has just described, and I think you can all agree, Emily just did a fantastic job of saying, you come in here, I'm watching a show called Who Cares? And then to see the website, to hear Emily talk about it, and then it's like, oh, I get it. We care. And being a viewer, I can declare that I care. And we can come into this camp, so to speak. There's an actual youth camp in Arizona that we have to take care of the business of because we want to provide these kids that opportunity again down there in Arizona. So a lot of this description goes to the point of, you know, I care. Now what should I do that I care? And, so Emily and I, we support another organization where, the leadership talks about, in that organization, they talk about, folks, you can pray for us, you can share, what we're about and how to participate, so like with this video, to react, comment, and share it, social media wise, but also think of people in your life that you're like, oh, this friend, this family member, or maybe you know a similar story about a death through a collision and so forth. By Todd coming into our space, we immediately thought of somebody else that we're supporting that also deals with distracted driving. Todd said, oh, we also, go to the side of this that's distracted driving. And I'm like, oh, I know somebody else that's serving distracted driving. So that is the ask here. We're doing a show, Who Cares? Knowing that you care. And then the show is about what we all can do that we care. I met Todd through an organization called Unicorn Universe, and it came from a friend that Emily and I have and colleague that, I was on a meeting with a few weeks back, and he asked me if I heard of Unicorn Universe. I'm like, I may have seen it. I wasn't sure. And I still to this day don't know if I've seen it before, but nonetheless, when I went to the Unicorn Universe meeting, and Todd is all involved in it, along with our other friend, it just really was a real gift to me to plug into that group, and then to come out of it. I haven't followed up with too many of the people yet, from that group a few weeks ago, but Todd, I've taken a deep dive with you, and part of this comes from that I used to be an EMT, and so I used to do pre-hospital care, and so I can really empathize to that, and I can really relate to the EMS, the pre-hospital care, to that happened. I'm a water skier, and I serve an organization that honors the death of a teenager, that she was going with her dad, and now Emily and I work with her surviving dad, on that. And just to see all of this, and actually in recent news here, local to me, there was, unfortunately through school, there was an accident with a bus in a parking lot of one of our schools here locally to me. And, ran over a child. So these things happen in our life that just remind us of our mortality. And when you looked at that website, there was exhibit there of how we need to be reminded of our mortality. And so when you look at drinking and driving, we got to really have that set in ourselves. We have to be resolved to not fall into the temptation and to be like, oh, I'll be okay, or I know what I'm doing, blah blah blah, all the things you can hear, when it's really that opportunity to take the keys from me, if that's me, or whoever it may be, and to just say we're better off creating an argument or creating a relationship challenge than to roll the dice. And our cars are a weapon. When you really look at it, it's like when we get a driver's license, we are permitted to use a weapon, because if we don't use this weapon properly, someone will die. And that's why Todd is here. He knows that if he doesn't do something, and if he doesn't make an opportunity for Emily and I and others we know to join in this, people will die. We just know that it's statistically true. So we have an opportunity to say, how many lives can we save, and one at a time. And Todd is also bringing to us in CARES Foundation. You saw that we're a team here at CARES Foundation, and we're looking to grow the organization. And you're invited to come in to be a part of our community, our friends, supporters, anything you can do. So obviously, if you have any time to spend with us, with your talents, and or even give us guidance, maybe some expertise or something, so whatever time you might be able to offer, that is a great help. And then clearly, as a nonprofit, we're out there to build up our budget. We're talking about a camp. Camps take a lot of money to provide what we want to provide, and we're here to say this is a cause that's worth it. Who cares? We care, and we can't do anything about it until we have the budget to do our solution. So Emily just described what we pose as a solution, and we can all take a personal note. So as we reach out there, we don't know if you're a person that has come close to drinking and driving. Maybe you did drink and drive, and fortunately nobody died or got hurt or nothing happened. Maybe it was uneventful and got lucky. But I can tell you, I know from personal experience that I sat down with a couple buddies and took on an order of gin and tonic. And by the time I left the establishment, home was only like 3 miles away. So from an establishment 3 miles away, had gin and tonic in me, a 0.08 blood alcohol level. Sure enough, I caused the collision. So I'm lucky that then die from my negligence. And, do community service and did the whole SR22 insurance. So I know what it is to be a violator. I identify as a violator. Now, that was something, 20 plus years ago. So that changed my attitude. And I also, unfortunately, have a medical profile where to take care of my heart better than I was 17, 18. I really curbed my drinking tone. So I haven't had too much alcoholic beverages in the last couple decades. I do, but I also have my wife, and now I got a daughter. So this really hits home with that to really, figure out what she's going to do. So nonetheless, Emily and I are here to set the stage with this all new show, Who Cares? And we're ever so proud to be with Todd Lingel here, founder of the program, taking his personal struggle with the loss of his mother and sister and to make all this happen. So Todd, we set the stage for you. I want you to come in here and take us to the next step, bring it to us personally. And Emily and I said, what we say to introduce CARES Foundation and everything we're not that rehearsed, a few weeks in the making. So we're going to continue to learn from you, Todd. Take it away. What are we missing, and how do you want to restate things from your perspective? Take it away, Todd. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you, Emily, Kurt. Thank you for the introduction. That's awesome. Um, I just want everyone to know the name we have there. Who cares? We all care, and that's why we're doing this. And we're going to have people on that we're going to hear their story about their life and what they've gone through, and just know that anyone listening, that we all have a story, and we do care about you individually, and that's why we want to hear everybody's story. I'll just kind of piggyback what Emily said. Our CARES mission, we are a nonprofit, and we're here to bring awareness through education, prevention, communication, and support. And we talk about a few different things like the driving under the influence, alcohol and drugs, my testimony. I do talk to kids about peer pressure, social media awareness, so they don't know exactly who they're talking to on the other end of their cell phone. A lot of kids get kidnapped that way, so I try to bring that awareness, and then distracted driving as well. And I have a personal story with each one of those people that I've lost or the people who've been in a situation. So what I plan on today, I'm just going to give you a little bit about my personal story and background. So when I was 3 years old, it was June 14th, 1975, was probably, I would say, the worst day of my life. It was a day before Father's Day, and lived in Idaho. And my mom was taking my sister and my brother to my grandmother's house. My sister wanted to bake pie crusts, and my brother had a 4-H meeting right across the road from my grandmother's. And so I guess I wanted to stay with my dad. He was breaking a horse that we had on the farm. And so I stayed with him. And, back then didn't have cell phones. And so my grandma was calling and calling and calling until my dad finally heard the phone. My dad picked up the phone, and my grandma said, "Hey, they haven't shown up yet." And my dad goes, "Well, maybe they had a flat tire, so we'll get in the Jeep and we'll go." Well, we got in the Jeep. That's what my dad tells me because I don't remember anything. And we actually drive up on the wreck. And my dad said that he knew it was our car from the back of it. And he got out, was running to the car, and a friend of his was a deputy there that basically tackled him in the middle of the highway and told him, he said, "Hey, Karen and Shelly are gone, but that my brother was on the way to the hospital." And so another officer there from a neighboring city took us to the hospital. To this day, my dad doesn't remember how the Jeep got home or anything. But after things settled down and all that, my grandmother was actually taking care of me while my dad was at work. And then this police officer that drove us to the hospital, my grandmother would watch his daughter. Well, I was telling his daughter that her dad killed my mom and sister, which was totally false. He was a police officer there. So I wouldn't quit saying that. So my dad took me actually to the junkyard and had to show me the pickup of the guy who killed my mom and my sister. And so I would quit saying that. So it was, like I say, the worst day of my life. Well, as things go on, and back in 1975, the old adage of "buck up, buttercup," everybody just kind of shut the door, just kind of move forward kind of thing. That's the way it was with us. My mom and sister were gone. We didn't talk about it. We just moved forward. Well, all this whole time growing up, I felt like there was something wrong, something just off. I didn't know what it was. Couldn't put my finger on it. I went through high school and later on got married. And then in my mid-30s, got divorced, had to dissolve a business, and I got depressed. And that led me to another lowest point in my life, is I had a shotgun in my mouth and I almost committed suicide. And that scared the crap out of me that night. And I called the on-call doctor, which my doctor happened to be on call. And she said, "Be in my office Monday morning." So I was. And I said, "You know what? I've grown up in a non-denominational Christian church my whole life. I believe in God." And I said, "You know what? I want to go to a Christian counselor." And I said, between a Christian counselor, God, and myself, we're going to figure out what this feeling I've had my whole life. I'm tired of it. I was just exhausted. And so I went through 4 years of counseling. I was able to go clear back to when I was 3 years old. And I got to mourn my mom, my sister's death, which I had never had a chance to do. And so doing that, I went through the 7 stages of grief, and learning about myself through this whole process, I learned that I have general anxiety and separation anxiety. So, and I'll never get rid of it, but I've learned how to deal with it for the most part without medications. But there's some days that it just gets me, and you tip your hat and say, okay, got me. I'm going to go for a drive and relax today. So that's kind of moving through that direction. And then as I've gotten older, I've spoke off and on to like driver's training classes and that type of thing when kids knew my story. And so I'd do that. And so here 2.5 years ago in May of 22, I started CARES Foundation. And like Emily has said, CARES stands for, my mom's name was Karen. That's where the Kare comes from. And my sister was Shelly. That's the S. That's CARES. And so I wanted to start speaking in the city and area that my mom and my sister were killed in. And my dad and stepmom were going to this church where there were some people there. They're elderly now, but they knew my mom and my sister when they were alive. And so I went down there and we were sitting talking with the minister. And I don't even know how it came about, but we figured out that the minister's wife's grandmother, again, I'll say that, the minister's wife's grandmother was a first responder to my mom's wreck. That was the craziest thing ever. I'm like, okay, this has been like a long time. My first question was, is she still alive? And they're like, yeah, she's alive. And so I was able to spend a couple hours with her, and her name is Donna, wonderful woman. And so I asked her to tell me about the scene when she got on scene. And so she told me, she goes, you really want to know? And I said, yeah. I said, you remember? And she goes, absolutely. She goes, your uncle was a deputy coroner in a neighboring county. She goes, I worked with your uncle a lot, so I knew your family. And I'm like, okay. So she said, so when she got on scene, that there was an older lady there that had probably been trained in first aid by 4-H. She had gauze, and my brother's arm was wrapped up in gauze. She goes, it was obviously broke. Was bleeding from his head, and he was wrapped up in gauze. The drunk driver was alive. He was cut from his shoulder all the way to his groin. And she goes, your mom and your sister were obviously deceased. And I said, okay. I said, please tell me about that whole thing, about the scene, everything, details. She goes, you really want to know details? And I said, yeah, I do. I said, the only word I can think of is closure. Because I said, if you can help me with the last few moments of my mom and sister's life, that's going to help me with some closure. And so she goes, okay. So I won't get super graphic here. But they hit driver to driver head on. And it shoved the steering wheel back to my mom's chest. And she said when she got there, the hood was also shoved back in through the windshield, and it hit my sister, and she died instantly. And she was sitting back in the front seat like you would normally sit. And my mom was leaned over my sister, giving her a hug. And I said, wow. I said, you know what? That makes sense, because I said my mom's death certificate said she died moments after impact. So I truly believe she was alive and had enough life in her to see that my sister was gone. And she leaned over to give my sister a hug. And sorry, I get a little bit of still when I talk about it. Gave me the last moments of my mom and sister's life. And I didn't have the logo set up yet. And from that conversation, the logo was made. And I'll show it here. That's this part of the K that wraps around the other leg of the K is significant to my mom giving my sister a hug when she died. And then, like we were saying, the Kare is my mom, after my mom, Karen, and then the S for my sister. And that's where CARES comes from. And our logo is kind of a bluish purple color. That color was my mom's favorite color, my dad said. So that gave me closure, and to where it's like, okay, my mom was truly with my sister when she passed. Thankful my brother survived, and he was just had a broken bone over his eye and such. So when I got the logo all done, and I'm thinking about, man, what do I want to do? What do I want this to be? And the biggest thing for me was to save lives and help others. And I don't care who it is, adult, kid. We focus a lot on kids, but I've helped some alcoholics that have called me at midnight and 2:00 in the morning. And so I'll help anybody. My cell phone's always on. And but the main thing we do is we go out and we speak to kids, and I'll go all over the country. I am based out of Arizona, but I've been to Oregon, Washington, Idaho. I think I'm going to be headed to maybe into Kentucky this next spring. So I'll go anywhere. I tell people, if I have a sleeping bag and a floor, I'm good to go. So that's just the way I am, and wanting to help others. And then the other thing we're doing is called Camp Cares, and everything is with a K, because that's the significance of the K, now is KAMP. And so this is going to be the first one out of Globe, Arizona. There's an Elks camp up there. and it's going to be for 75 kids that have been affected by drugs or alcohol. And in the morning and the afternoon, we're just going to get to know the kids and give them a few tools. I call it counseling, but it's not going to be a true like deep dive counseling because we don't want to trigger any kids while they're up there. But just want to get to know them, have a good time. Our theme is Survivor, like the TV show. So we're going to have the cabins have individual names, do some competitions. We want to have a luau the last night. And then once we're done with the camp, and the camp's a week long, we want to get together with these same kids every quarter. And the reason we want to do that is we want to get to know these kids even on a deeper level and continue to give these kids some tools. And as we get together every quarter, we're hoping as we build that relationship that these kids will want to go out in their community and help their peers. So that's the whole goal, is to help others and save lives. Again, that whole thing. And we want to do this in every state in the United States, unless we get some investors together and we buy our own camp and have everybody come to us. So that's kind of the goals of Camp Cares and kind of Cares Foundation in a nutshell. I would love to talk to anyone, and like Kurt was saying, needing help. We are a nonprofit, and if there's anybody that has social media experience, my social media experience was started with this, and that's grown like that, but I'm still a long ways. But that's what we're about. And like I said, we're going to have guests come on, and if you're listening to this and you have a story you want to share, get in contact with us, and we'll get you on the show. That's what we're all about, is awareness and helping others. And if you're just in the midst of a struggle, hey, it's okay. We can cry on here. We can laugh on here. We can do anything we want to do on here because we're all about helping others. So that's what we're about. Kurt, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, that again, sums it up. So again, as we are following this story and introducing this new show, Who Cares? This is the inaugural episode. So we're just coming out just to give you an idea what's going on here, what we're about, what we're doing, and what you and others that can participate in. Any outlets you have, it is for sure an ask, that if you can consider any way whatsoever that you could help, it'd be, ever so appreciated. And so again, I'm just going to take guideposts from other volunteering I do to say, whether you're praying for us, sending us positive energy, doing anything on your own, even if it's another organization. Like I said, we are aware of another friend and colleague doing the distracted driving side. To me, this is one of these initiatives that when we're talking about women and children and mothers and families and everything, to me this is what our lives are built from, and this is in the realm of protecting. We do have an opportunity here to save, let's just start with to say a life. This story starts with 2 lives that could have been saved and weren't, and a destructive decision, drunk driving. And so whether you think of distracted driving or, whatever it may be, we can be more responsible in traffic. And, so we make decisions when we're going to drive. And when we hear these stories, we make decisions. We run the risk here at Cares Foundation to be left as entertainment, so stories are always great to hear. Some people like the Hallmark movies and whatever, because anything that's a human interest story, there's just a connection there. See, and that's what's fulfilling, is that when we feel that human connection, even if it's bad news, whatever, that capacity we have to empathize and to be compassionate, it's just something that's a part of who we are, and we just do it. We're just drawn to it. And I think there's this natural instinct we have, to be to the help of others. So I think that's there when you watch this show, when you hear Todd, when you heard Emily, and you see how the 3 of us are working together, and we showed you that there's others in our team, and we need more members of the team here at Cares Foundation. So whether it's praying, sending positive energy, whatever practices you have, to do that, to feed into the more positive direction this can go and to create the shifts. And the shift here is the decision and the act and the behavior knowledge that when you get behind a wheel and as you go from where you start from to where you're going to end up, that you're taking that responsibility all the way through that act and taking every lick of precaution that you can take. And so having alcohol in your system is the opposite end of the responsibility of driving. And there's so much out there, so many organizations doing this. Cares Foundation and Todd here. It's really something to at least celebrate the extent of life that mom and sister did have. And then to say when that collision happened and death happened, that there can be some sort of, to just speak into it, to say life after death. But we are the life after their death. We are one that lives in their life. See, if you don't think of Todd's mom and sister, the idea is we have people out there and we're interfacing with traffic and other people all day long, every day. And then to think about kids that are dealing with this, having some effect by somebody else, having drugs or alcohol, or maybe they're struggling with drug and alcohol, the support on the human side of it. Todd, you shared your story, and it's a story of how in days of old, support was not there. That wasn't even the approach, and your dad had the challenge then as a single parent.
Yeah.
So I think of if something happened to my wife, the challenge I would have, what that would add to me and how my fatherhood would change with my daughter if all of a sudden mom's gone. And then to think that I don't give my daughter support if my wife dies and her mother dies and, all that kind of stuff. So this is very real stuff here. We need to come together as people and to help people get the help and support they need. And as much as we're doing it today, it's still a huge void in how we can all use emotional intelligence and in our systems and do more of, whether it's from our face spaces or where in the community through official people dialing that 211, service. We're hearing here, Todd, that you were in suicide ideation. I mean, this is real. Imagine that. Already tragic, 2 deaths. It was right on the cusp of a third right here with Todd, but thankfully you're here, Todd. Anything else you want to add on, Todd, before we wrap up here?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you again to you guys. And, I know we talk about kind of the death and this things, what happened with my mom, my sister and all that, but it's really truly about how we turn it around and how we make it positive for the future. So if anybody's listening to this, going through something, it can all change and be positive. We got to help you through what you're going through and get that positive part of the aspect of it. And it took me a while to get through it, but you know what? You can get through anything with help. It's just that acknowledging that help at first, and we're here to help you in any way. So let us know. And again, I appreciate you guys, and I look forward to see where this goes and who comes on and enlighten us with their story.
Absolutely. So, folks, I'm here with Emily with World Ability Podcast Network, and we are here today on this inaugural show, welcoming Todd Lingel, founder of Cares Foundation, to the family here at World Ability Podcast Network for this ever so amazing new show, Who Cares? And, we're going to, bring out a CARES mantra to the greatest extent possible through our channels, our resources, and everybody we reach. Todd has been amazed in terms of meeting me at Unicorn Universe and kind of the universe that's opened up through what Emily and I are working on. And I mentioned my wife, Sue, and, what we've got going on here. And Todd's got his challenge to keep focused on that camp, but then yet, trying to figure out what else he needs to do to make Cares Foundation a strong organization and do that personal and professional organization or development, personal and professional development for himself. So Todd is looking to build up his skills and his awareness of great nonprofit management. And so it paints a little picture that, Todd needs help. And that's why Emily and I, we're happy to help. And when it's about saving lives, I'm on board. That EMT thing is still in me. And so if you could use my help or anything with this show, you want any follow-up to, you can call and text me 262-372-1754, and feel free to send me whatever email you would like to send my way. Kurt, Kurt, at spiritofthegame.org. Kurt, Kurt, at spiritofthegame.org. Emily, over to you. Why don't you now step in as our book? You're almost like our bookends here. You got us started, and now you can do your outro. Take us out of here, and you're our bridge to our next show. Way to go, Emily. Back to you.
So the thank everybody for tuning in for Todd and doing this new show. And anybody can try connecting with me too. With any questions, comments, and so on. You can call or text me at 608-886-9801. And yeah, encourage everybody to check out all of our social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. And also would love to have you as a guest. So please reach out to us if you'd like to be a guest on the show. I do here, I think, every Wednesday morning. And also like to encourage everybody to check out anything that our others that we're working with, like Jason on the Disability Channel, Marcus Hart of Transforming Media, Zach Clayton of the Pack Channel, Lawrence Wingate of Wingate Studios, and Earl Williams of the Midwest Mindset Podcast. All the great work that they're doing. But I guess until next time, hope everybody has a safe and productive week and to stay happy.